Okay, so we got the 88 Monte Carlo, my wife's car that she picked up, that she's been waiting to pick up for a long time. Anyways, it's a 4.3 liter V6 fuel injected. This is the throttle body from it. As you can tell, there's a lot of, well, I would call fire damage, considering when I started it, it decided to engulf itself in flames after it had an internal backfire and burned for probably about maybe a minute and a half. Yeah, so you got some flame damage on it. No big deal. I started getting onto it. It's old enough that you've got bolts and stuff that are seized in different aluminum pieces, and I'm trying to clean it up, get everything off of it so I can do it. As you can tell, there's still a bolt sticking out right there. That would be the throttle positioning sensor. I pulled out the IAC, which is the idle air control valve, which goes right in here, just screws in. Came out rather nicely. I've undone some of these bolts already. They're all Torx bits. I do believe they're 15s or something. I can't remember now off the top of my head. Let me look at this. They're 20s. That's a 20 for one and 15 for the other, I think. I could be wrong. Nope, it's a 20 and a 25. I'm wrong. A lot of my tools are in the back of the Jeep, which my wife took to work because it snows in London, Ontario. Anyways, let me just get into this and pull it apart. Just going to pull this piece off. I want the injectors out so I can clean them up. So on the back here you see the intake for the fuel lines that go in the back where they feed the injectors. These pieces right here, I have to undo those so I can pull the top portion of this throttle body apart. There's gaskets between most everything that I'm going to pull apart. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. I got this hose here that's going to have to be replaced. It's all cracked and aged and weathered and all sorts of junk. This is all going to be cleaned up. You won't see a lot of this black carbon crap on it when I'm done. Well, the first one took a little bit to get out. It didn't cross-thread or anything else. It was pretty much just seized in there. And it's right there. But I'm going to pull this one. This one actually is pretty much okay, I believe. These are just for the fuel lines that go into the back of the throttle body. Looks like one's been, oh okay, I see. One's a return. I knew that, for Christ's sakes. That's no big deal. Next time you see this thing, it'll be the top portion off. Alright, so pull the top portion off. As you can see, those were the inlets were for and the return for the fuel lines were. And you see all the dark, the burnt areas from when it somehow caught fire. Wasn't my fault. Technically, I'm going to say it's not my fault. I'm just going to say that's what happens. And you can see all the burning. That's all going to be cleaned up too. So I'm going to make my way into the top portion of this throttle body and get into these injectors. Now these gaskets, you know, they're going to get stuck over time. Use a flathead screwdriver. That seems to work well. And you should have no problems. Watch you don't cut yourself. If you remember from earlier when I was taking the top portion of this, let me put it back together so you can see what it's like. So to get the injectors out, you got to unscrew all the little bolts, the Torx bolts. Torx crap, as far as I'm concerned. To get the top portion of this off, which will pretty much just pry right up. And you're able to get down to the injectors. And you'll need something I just put somewhere to pull gingerly the injectors out. So I got a pair of needle nose, which I'll pull those out. And then I'll get to taking apart the bowl basically where the fuel comes through. Alright, so I got one out, and you gotta watch because there's O-rings, just a couple of them that are holding it in. The one big one around the outside is holding it in, and I found an easier way to pull them out. Now originally I was under the impression that you lift it out, and I decided that was too difficult, so I'll find another way. You can actually just push on the bottom, and just be careful when you're pushing on it or else you destroy your injectors, which is a big deal. Don't lose your O-rings. Although if you're going to rebuild anything and you want to get new injectors, you'll get new O-rings with it. But all this stuff will be cleaned out. The reason why I'm doing this, the gas inside the car is more than 15 years old. So we tried running it. I did get it running. I sprayed it. But yeah, obviously it's not going to run off the gas. It smells like paint thinner. So I'm going to rebuild the carb, or the throttle body. Clean out the bowl. Flush out the lines on the car. Drain the gas. And I'll give it another shot. I know it runs, so that's the best part. That's all I wanted to know in the beginning. So now I'm just basically doing all the stupid little shit to clean it up. Now you got to be careful when you're removing the bowl portion of this. There's a big spring behind it. If you're not careful, it'll shoot it across the room or hit you in the eye or something stupid like that. And next thing you know, you're spending 5 hours in the hospital while you're explaining to your wife how much of an idiot you are. So just be careful. Don't be stupid. That's it. Alright, so we pretty much, I think we got everything off. We just got to pull a couple pieces of gasket apart and take it off and decide whether or not to reuse the injectors, which I looked, and it seemed like when I checked them, when I tried running it, it were actually working. So I'm going to say it was gas problems, like most of us guys have. Well, we get in trouble for it anyways. That was causing the issues of the shitty start. So now I just gotta get a rebuild kit for the throttle body. That includes a little baffle in here. This spring should be not included, but if it is, that's cool. And all the gaskets for in between everything else. That's it. So the next time you see this thing, I'll be putting it together.